Okay, so we'll take questions. I'll just go through the room. We'll get one question at a time so everyone can get.
Okay. I know there's nothing going on here in Woodhaven, but it's definitely going on in East New York.
Yes.
When every magazine article is about it. When is it starting and when to get here?
Yeah, so what's proposed for East New York is a rezoning. And I should explain a little bit about zoning. There's no, so the city owns very little land in East New York, and sometimes people hear about, oh my God, there's this development coming, and people confuse what a rezoning is versus a new development. I'm sorry, there is one city-owned site in East New York, but it's not a very large one. So what's being proposed in East New York is a rezoning. And basically what the rezoning will allow, most of the land in East New York is privately owned by people. And what's proposed in some locations in East New York is to change the zoning to allow slightly bigger buildings than what are currently there now. And so it will be the choice of those private property owners to decide when he or she will choose to rebuild. And sometimes, actually most times, rezonings take place, the development that follows a rezoning takes place over a period of time. So even if a rezoning, so the time frame, to answer your question, the time frame for the East New York rezoning is to take place over the next year. And that it will ultimately, City Council will have an opportunity to vote for it, starting in the beginning of next year. And there's a whole plan associated with that.
Because the privately owned land was part of the Blue Ridge Farms, which is on Atlantic. And that was proposed for maybe a 3, 4, 5-story, middle-income, affordable housing. And the owner sold that. Which, I mean, unless I'm reading it incorrectly, that was sold for millions of dollars. Because that's the equivalent of that 5 acres there.
Okay. I don't know about that specific site.
Okay.
But, you know, that is very possible. That is very possible. And so oftentimes, and this is the characteristics of real estate in New York City, when there's speculation about a rezoning, private property owners will kind of circle each other.
So rezoning really drives the whole thing.
Yes, oh, definitely. Zoning is our way in the city. I mean, really, it's just on paper, but it's our tool as the city government and all of us to be able to control the kind of development that happens in our communities.
I have a 35-part question. How do you accomplish a goal with players who are, namely the developers, who are basically the primary campaign contributors to politicians in the city, and not have them get what they want as far as getting tax breaks? There are tons of tax breaks out there to develop with very little controls in the way of whether or not affordable housing is built. How do you accomplish that in this environment?
That's the $25 million question. So what we're working on with the tax incentive, so you've heard of 421A?
Yeah.
So that's happening now, and that's being debated in the
It's
state
been happening forever,
government.
and it hasn't done anything to make affordable housing.
Well, so the proposal is to change 421A so that in order to take advantage of it, you have to produce affordable housing. You have to produce, 30% of your housing to be affordable. No. That would be applicable in New York City. The approval for 421A comes from the state.
Right.
Right,
We
but-
should have to get state approval.
Right, which it's going through right now. I don't know if it's going to pass. If it doesn't pass, we do have other tools. So oftentimes, and let me just clarify, there are some good developers that are out there that we work with routinely that have...
The vultures are hovering around Bushwick right now, let's be serious, okay? So if there are people who have big wallets who are paying New York State politicians up in Albany, up in Chattanooga County or whatever, they're paying them money to vote against these type of things. How do you do that?
Yeah. One other tool that I want to talk about that will probably be introduced in East New York first is something called mandatory inclusionary zoning. And if we are successful in advancing mandatory inclusionary zoning, and I'm pretty certain we will be, because it's endorsed by the real estate board, which is really the developers' organization, because we worked out the math with them to make sure that they will still get a satisfactory return in exchange for providing the affordable units.
Satisfactory.
Yeah. No. So mandatory inclusionary zoning, similar to what I was talking about with 421A, is if you're in a mandatory inclusionary district, if you want to build to the full density, to the full building envelope, you have to reserve a percentage of the total number of residential units as affordable. That would be regulated by our organization. Sorry.
I'm actually listening to this, and I'm a commercial broker, so I was laughing at everything you were saying. 421A, we're talking about right now, you mentioned, the gentleman talked about on the local level, and actually the state level, and this is the first time that Democrats right now, so the mayor and the governor are not seeing eye to eye on the 421A right now, and it's coming up right now for renewal. It's expiring June the 15th.
That's right.
We're looking at it very, very carefully in our firms, because I work with all the developers in New York. And so, unfortunately, when we looked at some of the numbers there, DeBlasio wants 200,000 plus for 10 years' time. The governor has other ideas. He doesn't agree with some of the programs, some of the parts of the program there. But we look at it, and I work with my developers. I also work with the international Chinese market. And when we look at some of these things here, these things don't present realistic goals. He wants these numbers, these affordable housing, and he wants this sort of utopia kind of world where he wants a diversity in these kind of neighborhoods. Well, that doesn't, when we look at it from our side of it, we laugh at this. I'm also a member of Redneck. And we look at these things here, we look at Bushwick, we look at these here, we look at East New York, we look at Blue Ridge Farms. I was working in that development site for about 4 years, and I lost that. But you talked about the air rights also. But when we look at everything here as a whole, the mayor is not being realistic. The mayor thinks that he can take on the big guys, the real estate guys, and I have to say, on this side, yeah, it doesn't work like that. What's your opinion of the 421A, whether it's going to go through or not?
I can't comment. I don't know. I hope it goes through, because I have no idea what's happening in Albany. But all I know is that my colleagues worked really hard to figure out a proposal that is feasible on the development side and will result in new affordable units. And that's what we sent up to the politicians in Albany.
I sat through, I'm sorry, I'm going to get started. I sat through a city planning presentation in Community Board 9. And what it appears to be for us, there's two major concerns that I see, is that these proposals, especially when I start talking about changing zoning text, and what we've already been through for the last 7 years that we've accomplished, and then all of a sudden we're coming into the changing zoning text. If any type of developer, whether it be big or small, comes in and buys a particular home or whatever, in these R1 zones, which are really a lot of Richmond Hill,
Correct.
Ozone Park and everything like that, will allow them to build 4- and 5-story houses, changing the total face of your 1- and 2-family homes. And that's one of the main things that became a discussion at our board and the land use committee and things like that. It's how do you look at this when basically the main goal here is to build more units, and the only way you can do that is by actually taking away the face of your 1- and 2-family home, which changed the total infrastructure of the whole neighborhood and everything like that. And that's what we seem to more or less be coming down the pipe.
My understanding is that I don't think there's anything to change 1- or 2-family homes. If there's a neighborhood that's that's one or two family homes, and I'm not aware of it, that there's a proposal to change. Because the idea is to maintain the context of 1 to 2 family neighborhoods.
Well, they're saying
The
they're
work
changing,
that we're really doing.
they're changing, the proposal that was made to us from the city planning was they're looking to upgrade R1 to R2, to R3, to R4, 5, 6A, 7A, and as long as the builder can buy 2 homes together, from what we can calculate, this allows him to do that. And so
Yeah,
there's
I'm not
obviously a
totally sure that's
miscommunication.
the proposal that's on the table.
Well, that's how it's presented. We'll hopefully, Lisa, I think we should invite him to lens.
Yeah.
Folks, please.
I recently read in either the Chronicle or one of the local papers that Long Island City had a new or 2 apartment buildings of 30 or 40 stories tall built. And there was a lottery held for it. But the maximum cutoff income was $38,000. That was the max. Not $95,000 as you were just suggesting. Might happen high in the sky because we're talking, ludicrous amounts of money. Now, I used to be a tenant. I'm now in the house. When I was a tenant at that time, 100 years ago or so, the city of New York was the largest slumlord that there was, owning the most property outright that it does. Granted, it might be only postage stamp sized, can't really build that much, but it still is a very, very hefty owner of property. It is very difficult to get new housing of any sort built if you have no inspectors. Like 22 of them were arrested.
Self-certification.
Okay? Yeah, self-certification.
Do you have a question?
I don't think many people will do it. So, my actual question comes down to this. Can I still buy one home and get a free one in Detroit if I go there?
Give it a try.
I just want to ask you something. I'm really not following everything the way it should be, and it has nothing to do with you. It's my understanding of real estate. But to me, you're changing the characteristics of the neighborhood. You are appealing to a certain group of people, many of whom are not even citizens here. And I think that what we're doing is just catering to a mob mentality there. And I think that it really can't do anything, because I think it's the death of the one family, of the small areas. I own a small house here. I wouldn't think of doing it. So I'm really not getting the message, and I really want to. Are you saying that you're going to build big houses there? Because I'm thinking of the pink houses. My nephew was a policeman and he used to work at the pink houses. The biggest crimes go when you put all types of people together, because it just doesn't work out. They fight for territory, they fight for the most ridiculous things. So I feel that you are just catering to a certain group of people. And I'm not thinking of the people that live right in this area. We're a very small community. We have 1 and 2 family homes. I hate to think that somebody would come and just like take it away from us and change everything that we have worked so hard for.
So do you have a question?
Yes, my question is, I'll give the floor when my turn is over. What I'm saying to you is, how long is this going to take? And the jobs that you're creating are just temporary jobs, because once the building is over, that's when all the people that you're going to work. So my job is, how does it, how long do you think this is going to take forever?
Well, it's a 10-year plan to create 200,000 units. And regarding the jobs, so in housing, the jobs that we end up creating are temporary, mostly, because they're construction jobs that are within. But we do partner with other agencies to advance other jobs.
Thank you.
Hi. I appreciate the information, thank you. I didn't know anything about this. But I am a little confused about one thing. We're Woodhavenites right now.
Yes.
So you're making a presentation to
Correct.
Woodhaven. Can you tell me why you're presenting this to us?
Because I was asked to.
Oh.
By the Woodhaven Bar Association. And because we wanted to see
Thursday night.
we were about some amazing t-shirts that we had to come see. So, and now I see that it's true, so.
The real answer is, I think we are hearing about this 200,000 units, and the $1 million question for us was, okay, where are they gonna come from? Because, we just went through our communities the past 7 years to change, make sure we can save our own homes, where developers can't come in, knock down the beautiful homes on the sidewalks, and put up this 5-story structure, and now, that's one part of the problem, where now you're changing the face of the community. Now, there's a domino effect to that. What about the infrastructure, the sewers? What about the police officers, the parks, the flood control? It starts spreading. So it's more than just 200,000 affordable units. And part of that presentation, that's really what it's talking about. But what about the domino effect? What about where are the police going to come from? We can barely find police now. So we.
Well, so what's not in this presentation is the initiatives that we have. So the presentation is an overview of the plan, and that's what I thought was, just sort of an overview of the Housing New York plan. There are specific parts of the city where we're looking at implementing aspects of this plan, like larger areas, rezoning areas, also larger sites, like city-owned sites. Scattered throughout the city, but like I said, in Queens, it's mainly in Flushing, Long Island City, walkaways.
I think with some things that we're talking about, especially when you say using existing structures that are there now, maybe they can look at homes that have been sitting abandoned for years. The banks are sitting on them, zombie homes. We talked about this for the past 2 years, where maybe it's time for the city and the state to step in already.
No, I completely agree.
We really don't want to lose the face of our community.
Believe me, coming from Detroit, I know a lot about zombies.
Okay, right. So, and we're big on change, and we accept change, and we believe in growth. But we also believe in community and family. We want to keep our community looking the way it is. It's a very unique community in Queens. We like the look of the neighborhood. We welcome new people to come in, but we don't want to give up the face of Woodhaven, in order just to cram people into the community.
Well, I don't think anybody's proposing to do that, so, I wanted to...
Next question.
Changing that you are proposing for East New York is going to affect us. We want to know that because all those buildings are going to be for high-raised income people. The low tenants are going to be harassed by the new landlords, and they are going to come to our area. So we are going to be affected. People that came from Bushwick, the low-income people, were harassed and they were bought out. They will get 10,000, 5,000, whatever they were getting from their landlords, and they will move to Woodhaven and all these areas. So now that East New York is going to be changed, it's going to affect us because all those people, they need a place to live. And where are they going to come? They are going to start coming this way because this side, Bushwick, all these areas are being really overpriced for them. 2,300, 3,200 for an apartment. They can afford it. So where are they going to come? They are going to come to here. And our crime rates are already going high. Police comes, if there are shootouts, they come for 1-2 weeks and then they disappear. So your changes are going to affect us. So that's why we need to know this. Because we are going to be seeing a maximum amount of people looking for apartments in our area from those areas. So we are going to be changing. And that's why we need to know what's going on there.
No, I do agree. I think it's very important that the community is aware of everything that's happening and that's going on. And I do want to say about East New York, among our goals are to have proactive displacement strategies. We want to minimize the number of people who are displaced out of their existing houses and to minimize the amount of harassment that takes place.
Well,
And
that's
so
what they say about Bushwick, but the tenants are still being harassed and they are being bought out and they, excuse me, but most of them speak Spanish, their communication skills is minimal, and they are harassed by the tenants, by the landlords, I'm sorry, and changes, the city knows what's going on. You are just thinking about creating a harassment tenants association, and hey, isn't that
Well, the
kind of
reason why-
late? What about now?
So my colleague, Brent Meltzer, who's supposed to actually be here tonight, the reason why he can't be here is because he runs our tenant harassment programs, and he's in East New York right now. So he asked, so I got this. I mean, it wasn't just the T-shirts. It was because Brent couldn't be here, and so the goal is to empower the community organizations that are working there, the tenants' rights organizations, legal services, if people need legal services, to make them aware that all this is going on. And the city has actually dedicated some funding for this purpose. I can't promise everything's going to be perfect, but we're very aware that speculation about a rezoning, just even talk about it, causes anxiety and makes people, think about where are we going to go live. And so we need to be proactive in how we deal with those kinds of situations. So, and I do really applaud your comments. It's extremely important. Even though nothing is proposed for Woodhaven, it's extremely important that you're aware.
Another question.
Granted, you're here for 3 weeks. Are you aware that there was a 9-house fire on 90th Street, is it?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah,
Let me-
all right. So,
Take
so the question is, this landlord was renting out his home illegally to other people, plus himself, and collecting a large rent, probably from someone who couldn't afford when they were pushed out by someone else. This is HPD's job to enforce it. There are complaints that go through 311 all the time. So I do applaud your agency. You guys were very helpful in this tenant. But there's a limit to what you can do.
Yeah.
Too. So I don't know what you're going to do. This lady for a very good point.
I'm just gonna ask one more time, if you can, please let me thank you for the questions and not jump in and interrupt people. All right? I would appreciate that. Steve, question.
Yeah, obviously I have like a 47-part question, I advanced it, but I can't ask all 47 today, unfortunately. But I still will pursue them afterwards. But I have a problem with this whole situation, right? Mayor DeBlasio is trying to do something for his own political gains, which we all know. He's looking for votes. That's why he did the universal pre-K. And he's doing everything else. Now he wants apartments. He wants to be able to take, if we have a basement, use that as an apartment. With total disregard for whether or not it meets building codes, number one. Number two, if the infrastructure supports it. Number one, this neighborhood, notorious, there's no parking. Now you want to raise the height of the building. Please people with a parking bus. I know they want us all to use the bus, but my biggest scary thing about this whole thing is something you said. You basically want to institute forced diversity. And forcing diversity on a community is detrimental to everyone. You live with the people that you like to live with. And that's regardless of race, color, whatever. All right? People, all different types of people can very easily live together. But not all different types of people. You get people that are, for lack of a better word, they're just plain low-class people. All right? These are the kind of people who don't keep their property clean. They throw their garbage in the street, hang their laundry out the window. They don't care about the neighborhood, okay? We don't want people like that to be forced into our community just because you're going to make the price of living affordable. This is a big concern. I mean, we moved up from an apartment in Flushing. We bought a house here because we liked the community, which is what most people here did. All right? We don't want our community, I mean, we know it's going to eventually change, but how can we maintain the style and the structure and the heart of a community under this kind of a plan? We're being forced to change.
Like I said, there's nothing happening in this community that our agencies are today. Well, so what I'm talking about mainly, just so I can answer his question. So you brought up this issue of diversity, and so one of our philosophies in a site that is controlled by the city, we have to try to achieve as many needs as possible, and that means reaching as many different incomes as possible, and possibly even some seniors. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, what's wrong with having a high-income community, middle-income community, a lower-income community?
I don't think there's
What's
anything wrong with it, but
Well,
I'm saying,
apparently that the city does with this type of a plan. They want to mix all, you said, economic diversity. You want people of all types pushed together.
what I'm saying is in city-owned property, when we develop a site, we try to achieve all those goals in that particular development. Because there's many different kinds of needs, and we have to be advocating for all the different kinds of needs that are realized.
We have any other questions? Any other questions? Any new questions? Any new questions before I get back to Matt?
Actually, I have a comment, not a question. You keep on saying East New York, and you're talking about East New York and Cypress Hills, which are two totally different communities. Don't mix up the two. Now, the place that she was talking about on Euclid and Atlantic, that's Cypress Hills, which is less than 2 miles from Woodhaven. So like they were talking about the trickle down effect. Yes, it's going to trickle down, and those are all 1 and 2 family homes where that is. So if they, but you're talking about if they're going to build a building that's 4, 5, and 6 floors, not only will it change the community, but no matter how affordable the city thinks they're making it, salaries are not meeting those demands, and people are not going to be able to rent those apartments. So the people that are going to be dislocated from there are going to have to go someplace else, and maybe they move to nearby communities.
I want to thank you for your presentation. It's very, very informative. I didn't know about the rezoning. When I heard of it, I was very scared. I was like, oh my God, they're going to build a building next to my house. But you were very informative, and like you said, it's not going to happen here. And knowledge is power, so in case something does come up, now we know, and we know how to handle it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so we're gonna take one last question.
It's 2 statements and a question. I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, eminent domain is off the table?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, eminent domain is never been part of, I mean, a rezoning is a rezoning. Eminent domain.
That's a separate issue, because I'd like to thank the mayor for allowing us to take 3.5 years to lock down our zoning, and they'll be able to do it in 1 year, so thank the mayor for us on that respect. But I see billions of dollars on there to create affordable housing, or retain and create affordable housing, which I'm assuming is you'll get some of those Mitchell-Lama people to say, we're still gonna keep this affordable housing. So that's a fudge number. But can't that billions of dollars be used for tax incentives to bring in jobs where people can actually afford the housing in the city? Why are we aiming to the lowest common denominator instead of bringing up the lifestyle of everyone?
I understand your point. I should clarify that that number also includes what you were talking about. So when there's housing construction, it's also related infrastructure. So to the extent that there's community facilities, parks, sewer and water, those kinds of things, that's associated with the affordable housing. To your point, I'm not a politician, I'm the one who implements this plan. I understand what you're saying. I can say on behalf of city staff, it's an extremely important goal that we create jobs together with housing, and we get it. We understand that that's a critical need that needs to happen. So, I mean, I wasn't responsible for creating unequal jobs, but I get your point.
One last question.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Steve kind of touched on it. I was looking at, and I'm talking as a resident, Angel, not Mike's office, the Assemblyman's office. So, are you bringing basement apartments? Are they going to be legalized? I just
No.
want that. No? Thank you. That's all I wanted. Thank you.
Basement apartments are not allowed in building code.
Good.
Okay, great. That's all I wanted to know.
And
Thank you.
that's, I guess that's,
And that's gonna be
and that's not gonna be changed though, right?
No,
Okay.
Okay.
not quality housing.
It's definitely not, but it is an issue that we do have throughout our community.
Yes, people renting them illegally.
Right, you know, we're hoping that somehow in the city.
Called Department of Buildings.
Right, I know it's Department of Buildings, depends, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah.
We didn't have any
Let me
questions.
correct. Cellar apartments are illegal. Certain basement apartments can be legalized. Certain, if they meet certain criteria, egress and other things. Not all basement apartments will be illegal. Certain ones can be legalized. Okay?
What's the criteria?
Right, certain criteria, I do not have the long list, but they would have to be means of
expensive.
egress.
They have to have windows.
Windows,
they have to be allowed-
egress,
kind of
light there, there'd be a whole, you have a long list of things, but not every, not, cellar apartments, for example, cannot be legalized. Cellar would be more than 50% below grade. It would also involve zoning. The zoning would have to allow it. So for example, in certain zonings, you may only allow to have a two-family maximum, and certain people have a basement, so you can't convert it and turn it into three-family. So, not all cases, basements can be converted. It also depends on the construction of the house, what the house is constructed of.
If we can, we good? All right.
Do you have the question?
Yeah, one more question?
Yeah, does the same thing apply for attic apartments?
Attics normally cannot be converted into an apartment. In most
So,
cases.
I think what we're getting from that too, if you do see someone who's living in an attic, or someone who thinks living in a basement, that should be living in a basement, as much as we say we want people to live in Woodhaven, have a home, we need people to be safe, and we need to be safe. So the best thing to do is report it, and let the city do what they can to take care of the issue, and if it's legit, then the landlord has nothing to worry about. If it's not, then they should stop doing what they're doing. It's for the safety of their tenants and for their neighbors. So, and that's the reason why, to go back to why he came to his presentation, is to touch on points like that and to also touch on really what the, you know, these 200,000 apartments that we kept on affordable housing units we heard about, where is it really gonna happen and how they were looking to go about it. So, with that, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for giving me the opportunity.